actually developed my own carb quiz because, again, people get so confused about this topic. And it's a 7-question quiz that's on my website. But I follow their instruction because I just find that it works very, very well. And so I kind of start at that 100-gram point. That's what I consider low carb for most people. And like you said, men who are very muscular, like that might be really low carb for them. But for some women, what 100 grams might be too much. So I start with the 100, and then we kind of move into the 50 to 75 zone. Under 50 is kind of where most people will find ketosis. And then under 25 is very low carbohydrates. So the quiz helps you determine where you're at. And it's just 7 really quick questions, basically looking at your personal health history and your family history. Because if there's a lot of metabolic disease in your family, which there is in mine, like basically my whole dad's side of the family is diabetic. So I know I'm predispositioned for it, but I have no metabolic disease whatsoever because of the lifestyle that I lead. So that's one of the questions. Do you weight cycle? Have you been diagnosed with any sort of metabolic illness, such as type 2 diabetes, prediabetes, PCOS, fatty liver? How active are you? Because that definitely plays a role as well. If you're extremely active, you can afford to eat a few more carbohydrates. And I forget what the 7th question is, but it's on my website, fasttoheal.info/carb quiz. And it takes, less than 2 minutes. I developed it myself, but I do base my therapeutic carb restriction is what I like to refer it to when I'm working with clients. Like, this is a therapy. Low carb is a therapy. If you're metabolically broken, needs to happen along with intermittent fasting. Those are the 2 strategies that I teach, very similar to you. And let's find where you're at, or let's determine where you're at now. Let's determine where you might feel the best, and then kind of work down toward that. I don't like to take people from 300 to 400 grams of carbs down to 50.
They're unhappy. They're very unhappy. And that's oftentimes where you'll see people they call it keto flu, but it's largely a reflection of the loss of glycogen. So again, stored sugar, glycogen in muscles, typically, as you're releasing that, you will actually excrete sodium, which is salt in your urine, as well as other electrolytes. And that will oftentimes precipitate feeling like crap. And every time I teach this class, I have a few people who don't listen when I say you really do need to replace your electrolytes. And usually around 1 week in, they're miserable. They have a headache, they have cramps. They're nauseous. And so I always say a little bit of salt and some magnesium and potassium definitely helps. So I'm glad that you kind of touched on that.